Hi there. So nice to see you again. How are you doing today? Today I am going to be whisper ranting about some of the most interesting dance controversies. I thought it would be interesting to give you an insight into a controversy in each kind of area of my interest, so that we have a variety: dance and pop music, dance and reality TV, the fancier world of ballet. Each of those could be their own video, but I wanted to talk about Tate McRae, who is obviously a very, very, very well-known pop star who is on the rise. I wanted to talk about Dance Moms, the reality TV show, starring Abby Lee Miller, of course, and some other well-known faces. And I also wanted to talk about maybe one of the biggest ever controversies in the ballet scene, which was Liam's Scarlett and the Royal Opera House in London. So, without further ado, I am going to get into these different controversies. And obviously this is all a mixture of the facts of what happened in each controversy, interspersed with a healthy dosing of subjectivity. A lot of this will be my own opinion. So, to start off with, I want to talk about Tate McRae. So, she left the dance world pretty much when she started her pop star career, and I know that a lot of the things that she is actually most well known for is the way that she performs and the dance moves that she puts into her music. But if you'd asked me 5 years ago where I would see Tate today, it definitely would not have been a global pop star. I probably would have seen Tate as a professional dancer working in LA, similar to like a Casey Rice kind of trajectory of starts dancing very young, gets very talented, lots of different styles of dance in her repertoire. She went on, I think it was the junior So You Think You Can Dance when she was, I think, 12, 13, so really, really young, like baby Tate. Baby. And I am, of course, really, really glad she's following this career in singing pop. To me, it's not necessarily like it's a controversy. I know there's maybe some slightly niche controversy about whether or not she imitates other musical artists in her music, like Britney Spears. I hear that a lot. I just very, very selfishly am grieving seeing her dance in the way that she used to, and I recognise this is probably just a me thing, and maybe it's just because I personally am not the biggest fan of her music. I think maybe it's just a very selfish sort of feeling of controversy, in that she was, and probably still remains, an incredible dancer. She was one of my favourites while she was coming up and travelling to LA and taking part in the dance workshops there, while she was on So You Think You Can Dance. I think that's the show she was on. But yeah, while she was doing all of that, I thought her technique was incredible. She had such incredible lines, her flexibility off the charts, and you can see that in one of her newest videos, because there's this dance challenge that has happened because she managed to do this crazy, it was like a kind of backbend or something, can't remember, but she's obviously maintained some of her skills, and obviously there's nothing wrong with the music she makes. I know a lot of people really, really enjoy it, so don't come for me. If you're a Tate stan, please don't come for me. I appreciate what she does. I implore you to go, if you're interested in watching dance, I implore you to go and see some of the videos of her dancing, her solo Dark Paradise, her solo Raven's Lament. Oh, like, so so incredibly dramatic and technically just beautiful. Now we see her dance in a style like kind of reminiscent of a toned down Britney Spears. And listen, I adore Britney Spears. I fuck with Britney Spears. I love her. I think I just know Tate had so much potential with contemporary and other things like that, and now she is very, very much leaning into more of like a poppy style, which she's able to do. It's just me personally. It just makes me sad from a personal point of view, because when she used to dance, it was my favourite style, and I feel like she just became one of the leading contemporary dancers as a teen, and selfish or not, I kind of miss that. I miss seeing that from Tate. I would love it if she incorporated something like that in her videos, in her routines, because she was so astoundingly beautiful when she used to dance. It's working out for her. Like, her music is doing incredibly well. It's very much just me personally. But yeah, so that is my personal feeling of controversy around Tate McRae. The video is going to take a bit of a darker turn, so I hope that you are prepared for that. So, Dance Mums, we've probably all heard of it, we've probably all seen the viral moments from that show. We've got, oh, you just got diagnosed, and we've got, get your finger out of my face, and the whole like, no you didn't think back, listen. That whole fight between Kelly and Abby, and I think it was season 4. Oh, I hate that I know that. But we've got lots of things. Actually, was it season 4? I'm not so sure. We've got lots of viral moments, regardless, from that show that people know and love and quote, maybe completely not knowing what show it's from. Oh, and I've just remembered the one with Jojo Siwa. Jojo, have you learned nothing? There's so many quotable moments that have very much staken their claim to virality, so we've got moments like that. And I'm including these moments because I wanted this segment to have some element of lightness to it. I wanted to evaluate the show, including some of the lightness, some of the lightheartedness, like the mama drama that just like it is usually very silly and not super serious. It's accusing people of sleeping with their bosses and stuff. And then I started a failed rewatch of this like a year or so ago, and I saw Shangela the drag queen, but even now she's been accused of SA, and so I can't even bring that up as a light thing because it's not particularly light anymore. And obviously, like, when I watched Dance Moms growing up, I watched it because of the talent of the girls. I watched it because obviously a lot of us produced a lot of the stuff that gets like the friction that you can see is kind of engineered, like that all sucks, and it's difficult to watch for me because I have so much empathy for these young girls who've been forced to sign these contracts and whose families are saying yes to all of this stuff for them. But yeah, there are light things and the good things, like I said, the talent of the girls. They are undeniably talented. We've got as well like the fact that a lot of the mums on the show are like characters of wealthy American mums who are like stage mums, and some living vicariously through their kids. Like, some of that is just, you know, it has its entertaining moments for sure. So I recognise that. I recognise Dance Moms has some funny elements, has some viral things, there's talent there, real talent, and they even pulled in random dancers who were also kids at the time the show was being made. Like, I think Casey Rice was in one of the episodes, and the Candy Apples team, they had Sophia Lucia, they had, who else did they have? I'm sure there was many more that I'm forgetting, but it's impressive. It's impressive. That being said, however, Abby Lee Miller is a just vile human being, and I find watching back the show almost painful at times because of the way that she runs her dance studio, but specifically the way she treats the girls is just abhorrent. Like, she spends her entire sort of span of the show racially stereotyping Nia, whose mum seems to, I guess, put up with this and is actually happy for her at times, because then when they do a group dance that's about the abolition of slavery or Rosa Parks, then Nia gets to be the lead. But obviously you're thinking to yourself, why can't Nia be the lead in a dance that's completely not related to race? Like, she deserves that of her own accord, she's talented. But it's just really hard to see that is the way that she is seen by Abby so clearly throughout the whole series, throughout all of the different seasons. I found that difficult to watch, and beyond just that, every single one of the girls on the show received emotional abuse from Abby. It is absolutely insane the levels to which their mums expose them to this treatment. She would not just say belittling things, not just deliberately try and tear the girls down, make them feel bad about themselves, but she would shout, she would scream in these children's faces. She would sometimes refuse to acknowledge them by name when she was angry at them. I remember there was a scene where she's angry with Chloe and she just says "you there," or she calls her girl rather than her name, and I'm like, okay, we are an adult human being, we are mad at a child, we do not need to dehumanize the child because we are upset with them. Who does that? The level of emotional immaturity from Abby, and the inability to regulate herself, the inability to think with a level head, to just treat people like actual humans. And these aren't just people, these are kids. These are really, really vulnerable kids whose families consented to them being on the show and therefore stuck with the show, although several of them did eventually leave, staggered over the seasons, of course, not all at once. But I just find it so hard to watch back because she is just a witch to these people, and I think I find it so difficult. I'm not a parent, but I find it so tricky to see the way that she talks to these kids and the way that she treats them. I know that ballet teachers and dance teachers have a stereotypical strictness about them, and they are firm with things like honesty, which makes sense, with being able to give correction where it's needed and being able to help kids improve. But this is so far beyond that. There's a line in the sand, and she crossed that line decades ago and has not looked back. The way that she interacts with her students, the way she pits them against each other, the pyramid, if this was started on a show that came out in 2025, if they started pitting kids against each other who were this young, I'm pretty sure Mackenzie, when the show started, was a baby, she was maybe 6 years old or something, so young. If they tried to do the stuff that they included in the original show nowadays, I feel like it wouldn't be allowed to air. Toddlers and Tiaras kind of level of craziness, but with, I think, more shouting and screaming. The police get called at various points because it just gets so out of hand. I find it so difficult to watch. I don't know how the mums and the families involved didn't remove their kids from that environment, despite seeing how bad it was for them. I just can't fathom how they didn't remove them. I understand there's a contract, probably for a lot of the girls, or most of the girls, when it comes to doing shows like this. So I know that it's not as easy as wrapping and leaving. But if I felt like my child was being emotionally abused, I would probably do something about that. That's not just keeping them on the show. Like, there had to have been safeguards in place that would have been present for issues like this. And I just can't stand Abby. I just can't stand her. I think that's very clear. And I'm very protective over kids, so I would just... I don't know how I watched it the first time around. I seem to remember, like, not always watching all of the drama-fueled segments and just sometimes skipping to watching the actual dance, because that was most of the reason why I watched it, was just because I found the dance really interesting. And, you know, seeing the girls progress and seeing them get challenged and seeing them excel, like, I always found that really, really interesting. And I think the idea of, like, competitive dance and how competitions are judged, that's also really, like, curious, and it's an interesting concept to me. I was briefly involved in competitive dance as a teen, but it was a very, very brief stint, and I have always much preferred doing it in a non-competitive setting and choreographing usually, rather than just being taught, like, technical combinations. I like devising my own choreography best, so I found that sort of side of it really interesting to watch. But there's so much darkness. There's the racial stereotyping, the abuse, and the fact that that was allowed to continue for so long. So that's all I think I have to say on Dance Moms. It is a wild, wild show. It's one of the shows that I've considered making a longer video about, or even a series about, like, dissecting it, potentially from, like, a psychological standpoint. I think between Dance Moms and Cat's Eye Dream Academy, the docu-series on Netflix, those are the series that I'm thinking of currently, like, doing more of a deep dive into, because there's so much in there to analyse from a psychology point of view. So the last thing that I wanted to talk to you about was the controversy around Liam Scarlett. Trigger warning for this section, I'm going to be talking about allegations of inappropriate sexual behaviour, potentially abuse, and drug taking, as well as suicide. So it's a little bit of a heavier section. Liam Scarlett worked at the Royal Opera House, which housed the Royal Ballet in London, and Liam was an artist in residence at the Royal Ballet from 2012 to 2019. He choreographed ballets for several international ballet companies, so he choreographed for the New York Ballet Theatre, the American Ballet Theatre, the New Zealand Ballet Theatre. All of this came crashing down in 2019 because there were certain allegations brought up that were about Liam. So the head of Royal Opera House's legal and business affairs told the court the allegations included inappropriate physical contact in rehearsals and other settings, sexual behaviour out of the workplace that was felt to be inappropriate, and improperly made casting decisions. And there were allegations around drug taking as well. So that is the statement that was given to the court. These allegations came out in 2019, like I said, and Liam was suspended on full pay. After these allegations were reported, they received more allegations through a whistleblowing hotline, and then in March of 2020, he left the company. And then he was found in April having tried to hang himself, and he died 4 days later from a cardiac arrest that was related to the hanging. This whole situation is extremely messy and upsetting. Definitely mistakes were made, and I I think that there are lots of different things that should probably be talked about in this, and I'm not sure if I'll cover all of them, but I encourage people who are curious about it to do their own research. I did some before recording this video, but in 2023, so this is 3 years later, the Royal Ballet ended up posting a photo of him. I think it was on their Instagram. Yeah, it was on their Instagram. Posting a photo of him. I was actually on Instagram when this photo was posted. I think I got there maybe an hour or so after it was posted. The comments on the picture are now closed, but I remember seeing them before they got closed, and let me tell you, it was an absolute war zone in there. People were very much shaming the Royal Ballet and taking no prisoners, saying that Liam deserved better treatment than what they'd given him, that they had no right to post this after what happened. But to me, as well as this, it feels like it was just a very, very insensitive and tone-deaf move, because it was subtly promoting their production of Swan Lake, which Liam actually choreographed, because they said in the post that his gifts, as in Liam's gifts, are so amply demonstrated in our current production of Swan Lake. So this post that was in memoriam to this dead choreographer who died after he quit his job because he was accused of lots of really, really nasty things. And then they're using it to like subtly promote their new production of a ballet. Like, it all seems very weird, especially because this was so much after. This was 3 years after this all happened, so it was like, what are your motives for posting this picture? Like, this is so strange and the timing seems off. I just have questions. Why, if there were multiple allegations of sexual misconduct, did their inquiry into him bring up no matters to pursue? So if the Royal Ballet are doing this inquiry internally, what actually did this inquiry look like? Because, like we said before, there were allegations brought up about his behaviour, and then the hotline was set up and there were more allegations through this whistleblowing hotline. So it feels like where there's smoke, there's fire in this situation. I don't believe that Liam was necessarily an innocent man, even though the inquiry into his behaviour found that there were no matters to pursue. I don't think that that's true. But for whatever reason, it was dropped. And I just have lots and lots of questions about the motives of the Royal Ballet and the Royal Opera House, because, I mean, the whole thing is so messy and it feels like it was handled questionably. And for me personally, even as someone who is like a casual long-time observer of ballet in the UK, I just find this controversy particularly stunning, not in a beautiful, gorgeous way. I can't quite believe how bad in this situation the consequences became. Interestingly, actually, I was looking for some of his work in advance of making this video, and I was looking on YouTube. The Royal Ballet has deleted every single one of the videos of Liam's ballet rehearsals, because I remember watching, before all of this came about, I remember watching a rehearsal of one of his ballets. I think it was Sweet Violets. So with the knowledge that they've deleted all the videos of his ballets, with them being in rehearsal, and to my knowledge also any of videos of the performances of his ballets, it strikes me very much at odds with the Instagram post that they made in memoriam to him, because people aren't encouraged to see any videos of him in his role as choreographer or like director, so it all seems really off and questionable, and in some ways it's weird because other ballet companies that he choreographed for and worked with have up videos of his rehearsals and him explaining his thought process and his performances, and I completely understand both perspectives of wanting to leave up the work that he did and his interviews in terms of remembering him and his work. I also completely understand wanting to get rid of all of that in recognition of the fact that he was likely an abuser and he was alleged to have done some really serious, really serious things and wrongdoing, and probably, you know, had impacts and consequences that were real. And I think it just doesn't make sense for the Royal Ballet to post something in memoriam talking about his production of Swan Lake, but also deleting off the surface of the earth every other video of him and his ballet on YouTube. It doesn't really make much sense to me, but alas, that's where I'm at with it all. And I hope that despite the somewhat heavy nature of this video that you enjoyed it, found it interesting, and let me know if there's any other similar videos you'd like me to make in the future. I am all ears. It was so nice to see you and hang out with you chatting dance controversies today, and I will see you in the next one. But for now, goodbye.